Hi guys, welcome back to At Home with Holly. My name's Holly. I'm so glad that you're here with us today. Today we are going to be getting into some tree planting. I do have some trees that just jumped into my car when I was at the local farm store because they were on sale. And then I also had one of my apple trees that's looking a little sketchy. So I got another one from Stark Brothers to replace it. So let me show you what's going on and what we've got going today. Also, as a side note, I have these planting rings that I've had in my garage for almost a year. These are 20-inch ones, and I'm going to go ahead and put these around all the trees if we have time today, but definitely the ones we're planting from scratch to help maintain their watering a little better. So this is my Jonathan apple, and just for reference, here's my Honeycrisp, looking good, doing great. And then this is my Jonathan. So I did the scratch test and it's still green, but all the leaves are dying. So I don't know whether, and I have watered it, it's getting put the same amount of water as all the other ones. So I don't know whether it's got a fungus or it just is struggling this year, but it's still alive underneath. So before I rip it out, if it dies, I'll put the fig tree that I have an extra fig tree. I'll put the fig tree here. But in case it doesn't die, I'm going to leave it here. Although if it is a fungus, I need to get it out. So I guess I need to figure out if it's a disease or just struggling. Anyway, so I have 2 rows of fruit trees. And so I'm going to add another row. So I have 2 more apples. You can see them kind of in the corner over there. 2 more apples that I got. And then I have an apple that's a replacement for this guy. Now, I needed another apple because this is a Honeycrisp and it needs a pollinator. So all the trees that I got are pollinators for each other, basically. So I got a Jonna Gold, I got a Macintosh, and I got a Fuji. So that should work well with what we have. Everybody should get pollinated. And yeah, so you can see all of our wind comes through this way, which is why I plant all the trees leaning a little bit that way, and still they end up going a little bit that way. So I don't really want to stake them, but so most of them I haven't. I just really planted them tilted that way and they kind of balance it out. But this guy, he was like the second one that I planted, and I think I planted him straight. And so now he's leaning that way. So I might do a little stake on that guy, but the rest of them, we're just letting it roll. Anyway, I got to do 3 holes in a row over here. So I got to measure out and mark where we want them. And then I do still have a fig and a mulberry, a fig right there and a mulberry. So if this one dies, I can put like a fig right there or something. But anyway, let's get some holes marked and let's get going. So I started out measuring and making sure I was a certain number of feet away from the house and away from the other trees and trying to keep it in the same pattern that I had done in the first 2 rows. And I keep going back and forth on should I just pull that tree that I'm pretty sure is dead, well, not really dead, but dying, out of the ground and start over? And what if it's a fungus and I don't want to spread my other trees? And I was going back and forth. And if I didn't pull that sick tree out, then I would have to put one tree pretty closer than I wanted to the house, So I kept going back and forth and trying to measure it out. And I actually finally decided to just go ahead and pull out the tree with the dying leaves, put in the replacement from Stark Brothers in its place, and then just plant the 2 new apple trees in a row. That way everything was pretty good distance away from the house, everything was pretty good distance away from each other, everything was balanced. And so this measuring part, Olivia and I did go and measure and measure and measure, and then finally I was like, that's it, put a rock down, this is where we're digging, put a little piece of wood down, this is where we're digging. And so then we went ahead and started digging the hole. But we did go back and forth and talk about, well, should we put it here, should we put it there? I don't really want it to touch the house a million times. So in the end, we do end up just ripping out that one tree and starting fresh. Okay, so I decided I'm going to touch the dying tree last, just in case it's diseased. But I decided I'm going to skip the spot right next to the house, and I'll plant there as the very last place that I plant. But I am going to plant right here and right there where that hose is. So we'll get the 2 trees that I got from the farm store and we'll get them in the ground, and then I'll use the cardboard from the Starkbros tree to plant around it. Let's get started digging some holes. So we've dug our hole twice as deep as we need it, and I accidentally took the tags off these. So one of them's a Macintosh and one of them's a John of Gold, and we'll see when they bear fruit. Can you hold this for me, love? Thanks. So we want to check and make sure that we're not burying it too deep. So I'll take this off so that I can see the root stock. So you can see this down here is the rootstock, and it grows out of there. So you don't want the rootstock buried because then it'll start to grow the original tree, and that may or may not be the same kind. So I'm going to add a little bit of soil to the bottom so that the rootstock, and then you want the rootstock to be planted towards the north. So I'm going to spin it around, plant it that way, tip it a little bit that way, and we'll get going. So whenever I'm planting trees, I like to turn the hose on, not full blast or anything, but just turn the hose on and fill up that hole with water just to make sure it gets a really, really deep watering the first time. I totally almost forgot to put the watering ring on this hole, but pulled it out right away and went ahead and put that ring in there. And then I refill it with the native soil. You don't want to add like potting mix or anything like that. You want it to be the native soil because you want those roots to learn how to fight for food basically in the native soil. Otherwise, it's never going to expand its roots and grow any further than that. So I went ahead and got the first one in, and then I dug a new hole for the second tree that we were adding in. Sorry for the crooked camera. I went ahead and put the camera underneath the trampoline so that it could have a little bit of shade while we were doing this. But we went ahead and got the second tree in with its new watering ring, and then we just kept going. Whenever I'm digging holes in the middle of my yard, I like to try to take a piece of open flat cardboard and put all the soil and the grass that I'm digging up and just keep it on the cardboard just to keep the grass a little bit tidier. So I did do that in this case. And when I took out the, we'll call it disease tree, I did take it all the way out to the front yard trash can actually. And then I went inside and washed my hands with antibacterial soap really well, and then got back to it just to make sure we didn't cross-contaminate. Okay, so I have the old tree out. I've dug a hole big enough for a bare root, and I have this bare root tree that Starkbros sent. So it is dormant, but it's already starting to break dormancy, so this is going to be perfect. So I will get my ring in the ground and then get it planted. This soil over here is so much softer. We have clay soil, but since we've been adding compost for 2 seasons to these trees, it has just really made the soil on this side really healthy. So I saved this one for last. Excuse me for the sniffing. It's cottonwood season. But this is why I saved this one for last, because it was going to be the easiest to plant, and I wanted to end on an easy note. Let's see if this is big enough. Nope, just a little bigger. I'm trying these watering rings. Normally I just dig the hole, put the tree in, add some cardboard, add some compost on top of the cardboard, and that's what we do. But got some of these rings. Might as well put them on. See if they help contain a little bit more moisture, in case that's what killed our first tree. I don't think it is, but let's see. Oh yeah, that's great. Now, that should be good right there. Want to help, kiddo? Yeah, you can put that a little bit.
Are we making a donut?
Yeah, donuts.
Yay.
This will sink down a little bit, so we'll
Make it real high.
yeah.
We'll also need to make it like a donut.
Yeah. Okay, so we went ahead and added these watering rings to all of our trees, and we got them all mulched, which is awesome. So we got the 3 new trees planted, and of course we still have the extra fig and mulberry, and we even put them around our dogwood trees as well. Just letting the hose drown them one at a time. Making sure they get a good deep water. Okay, that's gonna do it for us today. I wanna thank you guys so much for spending time with us today while we took care of all these trees and got them all planted and mulched and with their little watering rings. I wanna thank you guys for all the likes and the comments and the shares. If you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing. We have a whole lot more growing and planting and harvesting and fun to have. So can't wait to see you guys next time. Bye, my friends.